Kelly Ripa is rarely wrong about the rhythms of everyday life. She's sharp, funny, and often dead-on when she skewers the absurdity of modern relationships with her husband, Mark Consuelos, on Live. But when she recently floated the concept of an airport divorce, the idea that couples should momentarily dissolve their marriage while navigating the chaos of air travel, I found myself bristling. Not because the phrase isn't witty, it is, but because it plays into one of the most tempting and dangerous modern myths. That stress justifies separation, and that inconvenience is reason enough to go it alone. No, Kelly, the world doesn't need airport divorce. In fact, we need the opposite. We need airport solidarity, the kind of grit, humor, and partnership that turns the most maddening travel day into a joint survival mission, not a declaration of emotional bankruptcy. Let's be honest, airports are war zones for the soul. They test patience, hygiene, and one's ability to maintain a will to live after standing barefoot in a TSA line behind someone who forgot their belt, coins, and apparently, their sense of time. Couples everywhere know this dance. One partner checks the gate, the other frantically repacks snacks, and both pretend they're fine while whispering expletives about the person at the counter who just asked if Group 9 boards before Group 3. Ripa's idea of airport divorce, the notion that couples should temporarily disown each other to prevent bickering and blame, feels like an evolution of our cultural obsession with opting out when things get difficult. It's the same logic that fuels micro-breakups, silent separations, and conscious uncoupling. The idea that discomfort should be evaded, not endured. But here's the truth. Travel stress isn't a relationship-ending crisis. It's a shared endurance test, a crucible where teamwork either falters or strengthens. The case against the airport divorce. Airports don't need more isolation. They're already loneliness incubators. Every gate lounge is filled with people plugged into devices, silently wishing they were somewhere else. Introducing the concept of relationship disconnection into that sterile environment only amplifies the alienation. When Ripa joked about wanting to airport divorce Consuelos, she was venting, and humor is her currency. But the cultural echo chamber that followed the social media comments, the memes, the people saying, "OMG same, I hate traveling with my spouse," revealed something darker. We're so allergic to inconvenience that we've started romanticizing withdrawal. Here's the thing, the world is already full of micro-separations. We're separate when we scroll, when we work remotely, when we live parallel lives under one roof. If anything, travel, that liminal, in-between experience of being neither here nor there, should bring us closer. There's an intimacy to travel stress. It's the vulnerability of watching your partner sprint down a terminal while juggling coffee cups and passports. It's the shared relief when you both collapse into uncomfortable seats, clutching the boarding passes like trophies. It's the moment when one of you finally says, "Okay, next time we're leaving 3 hours early," and the other responds, "You said that last time." That is not dysfunction. That is bonding disguised as chaos. The art of shared misery. The best couples I know have learned how to laugh through travel disasters. They don't avoid them, they make them part of their story. The delayed flight becomes a comedy sketch. The lost luggage becomes folklore. The middle seat next to the crying baby becomes an inside joke that resurfaces for years. That's the antidote to airport divorce. Humor. The world doesn't need couples walking away from each other in frustration at gate B12. It needs people who can look at the absurdity of modern travel, the overpriced bottled water, the priority lines that are anything but, and say, "Well, at least we're in it together." Ripa and Consuelos have made a brand out of their on-air marital spats, and it works because they always circle back to affection. The danger comes when viewers take their banter as permission to disengage in real life. Yes, flying is miserable. Yes, couples fight about it. But no, that doesn't mean the answer is to divorce, even hypothetically, every time life gets inconvenient. If anything, the airport divorce moment should inspire us to reflect on how often we default to emotional separation instead of collaboration. We treat love like Wi-Fi. Once the signal drops, we assume it's broken rather than waiting a few seconds for it to reconnect. Togetherness in transit. There's a special kind of grace in couples who can navigate airports as a team. They operate like a two-person orchestra. One carries the bags, the other finds the charger. One handles the boarding passes, the other locates the nearest pretzel stand. It's choreography born of years of mutual frustration and love. Watching those couples, you realize that travel is one of the last real-world tests of partnership. There's no filter, no curation, no space to perform. It's raw logistics and emotional exposure, a kind of relationship mirror that shows you how you really function under pressure. To airport divorce, someone is to skip the test. It's to avoid the work of being a pair in favor of the illusion of peace. But peace without connection isn't peace at all, it's polite distance. Imagine if instead of temporary separation, we leaned into airport unity. A shared vow that no matter how delayed, dehydrated, or delirious we become, we'll still be on the same boarding pass. We'll argue, yes, about the snacks, about who lost the neck pillow, but we'll also forgive faster, because the only thing worse than being stranded at the airport is being stranded emotionally. The emotional layover. There's something deeply human about watching people in transit. The families holding hands through security. The elderly couples who share a single neck pillow. The lovers saying goodbye before one boards. All of it reminds us that movement and connection are intertwined. The airport divorce idea may be a punchline, but beneath it lies a collective anxiety about intimacy under pressure. We live in a time when independence is idolized and interdependence is viewed as weakness. But love, real love, is often forged in precisely those moments when we're trapped in close quarters with no escape. It's the missed flight, the melted chocolate in the carry-on, the 2 a.m. hotel check-in after a nightmare layover. Those aren't just travel mishaps. They're the small disasters that remind us why we choose partnership in the first place. Because if you can make it through Terminal C together, you can probably make it through anything. In defense of staying married at the gate. So Kelly, while airport divorce makes for great morning television, I'm pleading the case for airport devotion. For the couples who survive turbulence, both literal and metaphorical. For the ones who pack extra snacks, just in case. For the ones who can laugh even when the boarding gate changes for the third time. Maybe the real secret to travel and marriage is not to escape each other when things get difficult, but to stay close enough to find humor in the chaos. Togetherness doesn't mean silence or serenity. It means surviving the storm side by side, even when one of you insists on bringing 4 carry-ons because we might need options. So no, the world doesn't need airport divorce. What it needs are more couples willing to stand shoulder to shoulder in line at gate D17, laughing at the absurdity of it all, whispering, "We'll never do this again," and secretly knowing they absolutely will. Because love, like flying, is messy, delayed, and often uncomfortable. But when it works, when you land safely, when you look at your partner and say, "We made it," there's nothing quite like it.